Welcome to the Country Watch Political Intelligence Briefing Quick Hits, a weekly briefing of hot stories across the world in brief. I'm Denise Youngblood-Coleman, and I'm the Editor-in-Chief and Senior International Affairs Analyst at Country Watch. This week, Iran is the featured country. On April 10th, Iran announced it was launching advanced centrifuges to enrich uranium, marking Iran's National Nuclear Day. Iran had launched a chain of IR-6 centrifuges at its underground Natanz nuclear facility and began testing the IR-9 centrifuges, which it claims will enrich uranium at a rate 50 times faster than its first-generation centrifuges, the IR-1. This announcement made clear that Iran would be bypassing the existing strictures of the Iran nuclear deal to use IR-1s for enrichment. Since the time of former President Donald Trump's withdrawal of the United States from the Iran nuclear deal in 2018, Tehran has bypassed the regulations on its uranium stockpile. It now enriches up to 20% purity of uranium, just a mere technical step away from 90% weapons-grade levels. Iranian President Hassan Rouhani presided over the launch of advanced centrifuges to enrich uranium while insisting that Iran's nuclear ambitions were for peaceful purposes. The day after, on April 11th, a blackout was reported at Iran's underground Natanz nuclear facility. The situation was soon being regarded as a cyber attack. Iran characterized the incident as an act of nuclear terrorism. There was no immediate claim of responsibility, although suspicion quickly fell on Israel. Then, in an unprecedented move, Israel appeared to take responsibility for the action. Typically, Israel does not telegraph information about Mossad intelligence agency operations. Yet this time, several Israeli media outlets were reporting that Israel's Mossad had carried out the cyber attack that caused the blackout in Natanz. The scenario would undoubtedly raise tensions between Iran and Israel, while also placing additional strain on the P5+1 countries, the United States, the United Kingdom, France, Russia, China, plus Germany, who were trying to rescue the damaged Iranian nuclear deal, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, or JCPOA. To that end, the previous week, United States negotiators commenced indirect talks with Iran. The goal of the talks for the Biden administration was to curb Iran's nuclear program, bringing them back into compliance with the JCPOA in exchange for the lifting of United States sanctions. The meeting took place in Vienna, Austria, and was attended by Iran and the P5+1 countries who were signatories to the original JCPOA, the United States, the United Kingdom, France, Russia, China, plus Germany. After months of stalemate between the United States and Iran, negotiations promised to be difficult, and there would be expected suspicion by the United States and Iran over reactivating the nuclear deal. The first round of talks in Vienna was regarded positively by both Washington, D.C. and Tehran, with a second round of indirect negotiations set for mid-April. Now, with the blackout at Natanz, it was unclear how Iran would react in terms of nuclear negotiations. Nuclear politics were also on the international agenda as regards North Korea. Going back to late March of this year, in the aftermath of tests of cruise and ballistic missiles capable of carrying tactical nuclear warheads, it was clear that North Korea was emerging as an established nuclear state despite the imposition of strict United Nations sanctions. Of note has been Pyongyang's apparent determination to develop a delivery system of an intercontinental ballistic missile, ICBM, that could reach United States soil. Of particular significance has been Pyongyang's interest in the application of a nuclear device that could be attached to an ICBM and could be delivered to its target. The general consensus was that North Korea had crossed that threshold by 2017. However, that capacity did not necessarily translate into effective test history. The far more immediate threat comes from North Korea's development of tactical nuclear weapons that could be distributed across the country. With them would come a more diffuse power structure, with several officials potentially being able to launch the tactical nuclear weapons. A perceived attack on North Korea could conceivably produce a response imbued with miscalculation and deadly error. A diplomatic means to denuclearization of North Korea promised to be difficult, with the latest failure on that front coming from the previous Trump administration in the United States. Stalled nuclear negotiations with the United States were not expected to easily resume under the Biden administration. With the North facing a South allied with the United States, its own leverage comes with its nuclear weapons, thus the unwillingness to relinquish them. The Biden administration was conducting a policy review on North Korea, which would presumably indicate the new president's strategy in regard to Pyongyang. Moving on to Northern Ireland, violence has erupted in Belfast, prompting the leaders of the United Kingdom and Ireland to urge calm. Economic concerns stemming from Brexit appear to have stoked tensions between pro-unionist and pro-nationalist communities, leading to days of riots and unrest. But Brexit was not the only catalyst for the outbreak of violence. Sinn Féin leaders attended a large funeral of a former paramilitary leader in 2020, violating COVID pandemic restrictions. The decision by Northern Irish authorities not to prosecute them led to anger among unionists. In one particularly alarming incident on April 7th, a petrol bomb was used to attack a bus. In another disturbing incident on the same night, petrol bombs, fireworks, and rocks were hurled over a peace wall. In a joint condemnation delivered on April 8th, United Kingdom Prime Minister Boris Johnson and his Irish counterpart, Taoiseach Michael Martin, urged for calm to return to Northern Ireland. These gestures by leaders appear to have had little effect in stemming the tide of violence, with demonstrators clashing with police in an area of West Belfast known to be a nationalist enclave. Police used water cannons to try to disperse the crowds. April 2021 essentially saw the worst outbreak of sectarian violence in Northern Ireland since the establishment of the Good Friday Peace Accords of 1998. Finally, in the United Kingdom, His Royal Highness, the Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh, husband of the ruling sovereign of the United Kingdom, Queen Elizabeth II, died at the age of 99. Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, was born into a royal family in 1921 on the Greek island of Corfu, the son of Prince Andrew of Greece and Denmark, and Prince Alice of Battenberg. Prince Philip's uncle was forced to abdicate from the Greek throne when Philip was a baby, and the family fled to France. By age 7, he had relocated to the United Kingdom to reside with his paternal grandmother, Victoria Mountbatten. As a young man, Prince Philip joined the Royal Navy and was engaged in active duty. It was during these early years of adulthood that Prince Philip met then Princess Elizabeth, and the two exchanged correspondence. They married in 1947 in Westminster Abbey, 2 years after the conclusion of World War II. Prior to the marriage of the then Princess Elizabeth in 1947, Prince Philip had become a naturalized British citizen and abandoned his Greek and Danish royal titles. Upon his marriage to Princess Elizabeth, the future British monarch, then British monarch King George VI, bestowed the title His Royal Highness on Philip and created him Duke of Edinburgh, Earl of Merioneth, and Baron Greenwich. In 1952, King George VI died, while Prince Philip and Princess Elizabeth were on a royal tour of Kenya. At that moment, Elizabeth was transposed from heir apparent to the new sovereign of the United Kingdom. Upon the coronation of Queen Elizabeth II in 1953, Prince Philip became the Queen's consort, the official title of the partner of the monarch. His death marks a long and enduring marriage that has been a fulcrum of the monarchical stability in the United Kingdom. For more information about these and other stories, please read my weekly political intelligence briefing and my coronavirus report, both of which are accessible from the front page of the Country Watch website at www.countrywatch.com. Thank you for your time. Have a great day. And remember, as ever, that we live in an interconnected world.